Seeing it's a little after 7 on Tuesday, October 15th, 2019, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. To comply with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the city requests that participants in this meeting complete a voluntary anonymous survey that is available on the table in the back of the room. Ron, do you know if the recorder's on? Can you check that?
I can check that.
All right, thank you. After that's done, we'll rise for the pledge. You got it? Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. John, would you call the roll, please?
Roy,
Present.
Steve Raymer,
Here.
Steve Hamilton, Matt,
Here.
Rich,
Present.
All right. We need to approve the minutes from the September 2019 meeting. Those were passed out. Did anybody have a chance? Everybody have a chance to look at those? Is there any corrections that anybody noticed need to be made?
Roy, I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes from last month's
I have a
meeting.
motion made. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, they'll stand approved. New business. Sean Tobin, 714 North Michigan Avenue, conditional use, and 1241 North Liberty Circle East, conditional use. Kathy, please.
Hi, good evening. If you see, you have an application, it's kind of dark looking, and I received this kind of late from him, but at least I did, and this is what I was trying to explain to Roy earlier, was I have to advertise so many days in advance. So if I don't have adequate information on what to advertise, I make it broad, that way I know I'm covering everything. And I took from what he was doing to his current shop that he has in operation over here on West Main Street. So I included everything, including the sale of fireworks, his auto sales, his truck rentals, everything. So whether or not, and he is present, so you can ask him whether or not he intends to sell fireworks there. I really can't answer that. But it was me that included it just in case, because again, I did not know what he was doing until I received this kind of late, and I had to advertise. So we kept playing phone tag, so that was one of the reasons why I received this late, but nevertheless, he is here because the property is zoned B1. And under a B1 zoning, you're allowed retail sales. Retail sales does not include auto sales or truck rentals. So I believe what he's wanting to do is have an office there like he does over in West Main Street, but he is present, so he can explain that a little better. So he needs a conditional use under our B1 zoning, as is stated in your email that I sent you. Do you have any questions? This property before was occupied by a car dealer that had to do the same thing years ago, I believe 18 years ago, and I have the minutes. I attached the minutes with your information from that, where the present owner had to come before the board to do the same thing, to get a variance to operate his auto sales. So even though a lot of people assume that the assessment sheet that they see, because it says it's zone commercial, or it says use is commercial, they assume that they're automatically zoned properly to do whatever they want in a commercial facility. So, and that's not necessarily the case. Because the assessment sheet says commercial, it doesn't mean that that it's zoned properly for that type of business. So, and that's what this case was, and that's what the present owner had issues with.
So the beacon map's wrong, because it's showing it R2.
R2, exactly. I have an old zoning map that I use a lot because it is the correct zoning map. And it's just an error, I don't know on whose part, but I need to get with our GIS guy and have it corrected.
Okay. Everybody on the same page here? Know what's going on? All right. And I think we need to speak to Mr. Tobin as to what is exactly going to go on. State your name for the record.
Sean R. Tobin.
Thank you. And what are you planning on doing at both locations?
From over here. I mean,
Well, I'm not talking about for now. Let's talk about North Michigan first.
I'll be doing the same thing I do over here. Have the rental trucks, offices, and then fireworks rentals, and then the tow trucks over there. No change. Just I bought that property, and when I bought it, we were told the zoning was all correct from the realtor's point, everywhere. And then after we closed, Kathy contacted me and said I needed to come in front of you guys to get a variance for the sales part of it and the rental part of it.
And the same thing out at Liberty Circle, same.
Yes, mainly at Liberty Circle. That'll be an impound, and then it'll be a fireworks warehouse. So what that is anybody that sells fireworks will come to us. We'll be the main supplier for fireworks.
And can I speak on behalf of, if you're going to discuss the one on Liberty, the variance for that is because he is zoned I-1, and anything that is allowed in a B3 must come through this board to be allowed in an I-1. Also, impound lots are allowed and permissible in an I-1 with your approval.
Okay. Thanks, Kathy.
You're welcome.
Okay, so the Liberty Circle property will be used for warehouse of fireworks.
Correct.
And the North Michigan Avenue then would only be a sales point for fireworks?
Correct. That is correct,
Is that what
yes.
I understand? Board members, questions for Mr. Tobin?
Are we looking at
We're
two
kind of,
different
we're looking at both
variances
of them, but
at the
let's talk,
same time, or
Well-
what the hell are we doing?
let's talk about Michigan Avenue first.
Good idea. Do
Okay.
one at a time.
Right.
Okay.
I wanted a general idea of what was going on at both places, and now we know, so.
Yeah,
okay, go on.
I'm kind of cautious about having the fireworks there on Michigan Avenue. I don't remember what the address is right there.
12 something.
Yeah.
714.
7, okay, I'm wrong. 7, yeah, 714 North Michigan.
But let me not step on your toes, Roy. Is there anybody here that lives near that place?
I think there is, and I've got letters too, but let's go with the board first, and then I'll ask for questions from the audience. But this is right now just questions for Mr. Tobin from the board.
How many rental vehicles you plan on having on these trucks?
No, the same amount we have here. There's only 2 to 3 at a time. We don't keep very many at a time. They'll mainly be on the, if you're looking at the front door, they'll be on the right side of the parking lot is where they'd be at. We've kind of designated a spot for them.
Okay, so big concern, I think, has been that there would be we don't wanna see those trucks parked out on Anderson Street.
Oh, they would not be. They would be, like I said, I don't know if you see the picture of the building where the bathrooms is.
Right.
There's a decent little size, but that's where the trucks would be. Like I said, I have 2 now. I mean, the most I ever have is 3 or 4, just, you know, and they're in and out quite a bit, but I mean, that's where they're gonna be designated parked at. They
Okay.
won't be out front. They'll be on the side of the building there.
Okay. I have some grave concerns about fireworks sales in that area with, God forbid if there would be a fire or anything, some of that's awful close there. I don't know if, and I doubt that that building has proper sprinklers and fire protection for that sort of thing. That's my main concern. And as I've gotten letters, that seems to be a concern of a bunch of neighbors too. Also, the fact that they seem to think that there might be a chance that fireworks would be let off at all hours of the night. That seems to be a concern of some of your neighbors. Anything else for Mr. I'll get into I'll read the letters for the record.
Okay, no auto sales?
Well, I mean, my license will transfer over to here, but I mean, you know, I don't really sell too much out of here. Occasionally we'll have something out there for sale, but it ain't like you're gonna be seeing a bunch of them. But I mean, I do have my dealer license. They do have to transfer to where I moved to, so they will be transferred over there. I mean, it's been a car lot for 18 years, and it was a rental business before that. BNC was in there and rented U-Haul trucks and U-Haul equipment, or different type of rentals out of there. So that's why we bought the property for that reason. So
You're gonna do, truck rentals, you're gonna do ATVs, you're gonna.
well, just
sell
ATVs, just whatever, you know, golf carts, whatever.
Golf
Like
carts, campers, fifth wheels,
that lot's not big.
trailers.
that lot's real. I mean, maybe one here, there, and yonder, but it ain't very big over
And
there.
not
So
park your trucks there at the same time.
Right,
It'd
right.
be difficult.
right.
Matt, you got anything for him?
If it were pushed for retail, is there a required parking space count?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's based on the square footage of the sales area. So it's like 1 per employee plus,
Such and such
Like,
per square foot?
yeah.
And you're probably not talking, as far as that part goes, you're not probably talking that big an area, because that building's not, I mean, you know, it's just not got a lot of retail
Right.
space.
And I was just thinking, I mean, if you've got a majority of it taken up with rental trucks and whatever you're selling, then you've eliminated any parking whatsoever.
Steve? You have any
The
questions?
only thing I'm kind of cautious about this fireworks, I'll be honest with you.
I
I'm not a big
understand.
fan.
Okay. All right, thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
If anybody has any questions, come back. All right, anybody from the audience to speak on this issue? If you would, sir, come forward to the podium and state your name for the record.
My name is Chris Martin. I live at 729 North Anderson Street, which is actually the second house behind Mr. Tobin's property that he bought. My biggest concern is the fireworks. Number one, I'd hate to have a whole bunch there if there was a fire or whatnot, but I'm also against them being set off, whether it be day or night or whatever time of year. As far as the ATV sales, whatever Mr. Tobin sells is fine with me. As long as it's kept on his lawn. I would hate to see big Penske trucks or fifth wheel campers come down Anderson Street, being parked on the street or blocking the alley. That is used by not only me, my mother lives next to me, which is directly behind Mr. Tobin's property, and I actually own the house between Mr. Tobin's property and Dairy Hall. That is a rental house of mine, and all three of us use that alley. That's our main way in and out of our house. So I would hate to see that get blocked, or if there is ATVs running up and down the alley. I really would hate to see that. But if Mr. Tobin could keep everything on the lot, I have no problem with it, but other than the fireworks. So,
All right,
thank you.
thank you. Anyone else from the audience to speak on this issue?
Are you gonna read the letters?
Yes.
Okay, good.
All
Probably
right.
don't need it. I've already said my piece in the letter.
All right. It's addressed to the Greensburg BZA. Attention, Kathy Reynolds. Dear Ms. Reynolds, I strongly disapprove of the sale of fireworks in our neighborhood by Tobin's Towing, seen to locate at 714 North Michigan Avenue. With all the services and sales Mr. Tobin hopes to provide, I fear that there would be vehicles off his lot. I wish to state that hopefully Mr. Tobin will keep the street and alley clear for safe movement of traffic. I live behind what proposes to be Tobin's Towing on Anderson Street and hope for safe and easy access to my residence. Thank you, sincerely, Rita Chandra. Okay, so that's been read into the record, letter from Ms. Chandra. And I have an email also. This is from Beth Blaisdell of Blaisdell Enterprises regarding this, and it says, Kathy, Bill does not want fireworks across from there either. We hear fireworks going off over here all the time. Thanks, Beth Blaisdell, Plant Manager, Blaisdell Enterprises. And this is from Jill Blaisdell. I do not fireworks sold across the street from me, 731 North Michigan. Mr. Tobin has been known to set them off regularly according to neighbors. They terrify my dogs even worse than thunderstorms. Also with the dry weather, I don't need my house burnt down. The dry weather makes this an even bigger concern. And that was from a Jill Blaisdell. It was been read into the record. Personally speaking, I have no problem with the sale of fireworks at the other location, but I'm afraid I'm like all the rest of everybody. I'm not sure that fireworks sales is pertinent there at the North Michigan Street address. Other than that, I don't see a problem with the truck business myself. I think that would be the rental business. After we had a little bit of a problem with figuring out where the property lines were over here on Main Street. After that, I didn't have any complaints from the people. I talked to several of the people around there, and everything seemed to be okay, so I have no problem with that. I just don't, personally, I don't want to see fireworks over there in that neighborhood.
Well, I don't think you're alone, Roy. Some of his neighbors don't want to see fireworks
Right.
there either.
Right. It's pretty evident when you got.
I don't know if Mr. Tobin is willing to withdraw the fireworks part from this zoning appeal.
Kathy, we can approve this, right, with no fireworks at that location, but fireworks at the other location.
Exactly,
Am I
yes.
correct?
That is correct.
That would be what I would.
But Roy, you have two separate petitions, so you
Right, I
have to take care of
understand,
the
I understand.
Okay, with stipulations.
Right. So, we'll consider, has anybody else got anything else to say from the audience on this? Okay. Anything else from board members? Then I would say we would consider the 714 North Michigan Avenue one first. And I would entertain a motion that we approve everything but the fireworks portion for that location, if someone would make it.
I'll make it.
Okay, the motion's been made, can't talk tonight for some reason, to approve everything but fireworks sales from that location. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, did you get that, John? Steve made it and
Approved with no fireworks stipulation.
right. John, would you call the roll on this one?
Roy,
Yes.
Steve Rimmer,
Yes.
Steve Hamilton, Matt,
Yes.
Rich,
Yes.
Okay, so that one's been approved with no fireworks at that location. Now we'll consider the 1241 North Liberty Circle East use. And myself, I wouldn't see any problem as long as he meets the fire codes from the state. The state will be involved with the approval of
State
that.
fire marshal.
Yeah, the state fire marshal, so I would entertain a motion that we approve that pending he gets approval from the state.
Okay, before we do that,
Yes, sir.
before there's a motion, I don't know why Kathy has to go ahead and do these petitions before she gets the information from the people that want the petition. I
Well,
don't, you know,
You're-
if they want it, they should get in here and fill out the paperwork for you. It's just not fair to us or to you to try to coordinate everything that they need. Okay, I'll make a motion now that we do approve the petition for the North Liberty Circle
Yes.
building.
You've got some people out here who'd like to speak.
Okay, I'm
I
sorry.
didn't realize you'd moved on that quick to vote
Okay,
on it.
sorry.
Pretty fast.
Yeah, I'd say, you know, I own the property.
Please come forward and state your name too.
I'm Ryan Kennelly. I own R&R Storage, which is just adjacent to this property on Liberty Circle. I'm 1225. I have the same concern that they do, fireworks. I don't want to stop Mr. Tobin from doing anything. As Kathy knows, we also, my dad and I together own the storage facility on Randall Street. We've had 2 fires there, so that's very much a concern of ours. What I heard him say was not sell fireworks, but warehouse them, which was a concern because that means big quantities of fireworks. And I don't know the fire codes. I know they sell fireworks out of every building in town when it comes 4th of July. So I'm not sure how regulated the codes are on this, but I really ask that you consider that. I don't know what the water supply is out there. Not a lot of fire hydrants from what I've seen. It's a big building, I think lined with wood on the interior. Nothing to drywall, nothing to create a fire wall. I think there's a lot more to this, Roy, than just I'm ready to make a vote on that without
Well,
understanding what's going on.
That would be pending the state's fire marshal's approval, and I don't understand what that code, Kathy has a point for, so no.
I can answer that. There is a code with the state fire marshal's office. Actually, he has to go through the state fire marshal's office in order to get a permit to sell fireworks, and they do an extensive inspection. When I say extensive, it goes by pounds. It depends on how many pounds he sells in warehouses. And I believe he has enough, and I believe, Sean, we've talked about this, you have to sprinkle the building.
Yes.
And not only that, if he didn't have to sprinkle, then he'd have to put firewalls in. And he'd have to put such a firewall in that it'd be up to a 4-hour firewall because it's fireworks. But because of what he's doing, he has to put a sprinkler system in. He has checked with rural water, because that was one of my first questions was, do they have ample supply and pressure out there? And the answer is yes. So he's already checked with rural water on that, and he's been told and had to go ahead with that. So if that answers any of your questions. Plus, after the fact, you'll have the state fire marshal's office down here anyway while he's under construction to make certain everything's up to snuff. Plus, they do a final inspection of the building as well before he occupies.
And Brian, just to be clear, my idea was that we'd approve it pending he gets all those approvals from the state fire marshal. Those would have to be submitted.
Right, because number one, it's a change of use for that building, and number two, because he is the sale of fireworks, and that's a requirement with the state fire marshal's office and the state building services.
So we'll be okay.
I don't want to stop anybody from I believe the
I
property
understand,
rights.
you're just concerned,
But,
and rightfully so, we all are about
It's a
safety.
mess of grass between he and I that I'm in the process of trying to clean up, and if anything come through that wall, it would be on fire in a heartbeat, all of us. So, that's a concern.
Understood. Okay,
I'm gonna change gears just a little bit, Roy. As far as the, Mr. Tobin on the impound side of it, and maybe Kathy can help answer this, are we required to have any kind of fencing for impound lots? Or-
Right, it must be screened, and I do know now the state has kind of modified their regulations on impound lots. It must be a solid fence, so,
I just
Our
wanna make sure he's
requirements-
aware of that before he,
and he is aware of that. Our requirements state that you must have a fence with trees blocking the view of it. So, I know we have some older impound lots that keep being utilized, and as long as it's, being used within a year's time, they don't have to do anything because it's kind of, so to speak, grandfathered in.
does that answer everybody's questions as to?
Does the warehousing of the fireworks mean there'll be no individual sales then?
That I don't know. Mr. Tobin, could you address that?
There will be retail sales, per state guidelines, wherever you warehouse them at for distribution, for wholesalers or whatever you wanna call it. You're able to do retail out of that location, that's state law, so.
Okay. So I'm hoping that, I know that the fire marshal is very vigorous. I've had some dealings with the state fire marshal. And they'll check this out very well. I don't think we have to worry about it from the local standpoint. If the state approves it, it'll be done right. I'm confident of that. So, let's entertain a motion to approve the conditional use for the Liberty Circle location.
I have Richard making the motion, correct?
I withdraw that motion.
Okay, he withdraws his motion. Do I have a motion? Steve Raymond made it. I need a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Matt. Motion's been made and seconded. John, will you call the roll, please?
Roy,
Yes?
Steve,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Rich,
No,
Okay, we carried by a 3-1 vote. Any other business for us, Cassie?
No,
Will there be a meeting next month, or do you know yet?
I do not know yet. Next week.
Okay, how about planning commission, just since
Yes,
it's a
on planning
personal
commission.
question on that?
Yes, on plan commission.
All right, and guys, I got the sign-in sheet here that you guys over on that side need to sign. I'll bring it over. I entertain a motion, we adjourn.
I make a motion we adjourn.
Done.